history that they don't teach you in school, so I will give you a little education here. The question is, who was the first white man killed in southwest Nebraska? Yeah, we all know that the Native Americans have been dying here for thousands of years in southwest Nebraska, the 10,000 square miles that make that up. But the first white man, who was the first white man? Well, you have to go back to a different time. A time when there was no beef in the eastern part of the United States after the Civil War. And they was hungry for it. Now there was all the beef you could imagine down in Texas, and they was getting $2 a head down there, but if they could get it back east, they could get $20 a head for beef. The trick was to get it there. They tried to go on the east side of Kansas, but the Missouri ruffians and some of the Kansas people would steal or raid their cattle, and they had some plagues back there that was causing trouble too. So what they did, they decided to take their longhorn Texas cattle and move them up here to the rails at Ogallala. That's a heck of a drive from Texas up to Ogallala. Well, here in between Trenton, Nebraska and Stratton, Nebraska is where the trail broke across the Republican River. Now, unlike today when the river ain't hardly a foot deep, maybe 20 foot across, back then it was nothing to be 60 foot across and 6 foot deep quite often. That's just how much more water there was back there before the underground aquifer was just drained by all these cities and irrigation. The story I've got to tell, though, is almost like a B-rated horror movie. Because when the cattle drive from Texas, the first one that came up here in 69 to 70, as they were driving them up through here, they crossed the Republican River, a deep river, as I've told you. And the cattle had to swim it, the horses had to swim it. And they had a drag rider. A drag was a guy in the very back picking up strays, make sure they didn't lose any cattle through the day. It was a dirty, thankless job, to say the least, that one. A young cowboy was there, and as he started to cross the river, he noticed a ball, almost a ball-like object coming at him, and he couldn't figure it out, just drifting down with the river. As it got closer, he realized what it was, but it was too late. The ball run into his horse. It was a ball of poisonous snakes. I've only seen it once in my life where snakes will turn into a ball or wrap up themselves into a giant ball. And there were hundreds of poisonous snakes. Of course, he and the horse were both bitten. He got out of the water, but with all of the snake bites he had, it was clear to everybody that he wasn't going to make it. No use suffering, dragging him, you know, a few more miles or, you know, maybe another day, if that, before he'd die. So they left him at the edge of the Republican River with another man with him to comfort him till he died the best he could, and then bury him. He suffered something terrible before he finally succumbed. And the man that buried him told later, he said, "I've always wished that I'd have just put a bullet in his head and got it over." And got it over. That is the story of the first man that died in southwest Nebraska that was white. This is McCook's Mr. Bill. Rate this film.